game selection wise. What I've done this year, and I haven't talked about it for a reason, because I wanted to have like a solid like 10 weeks of like going through this and seeing what I thought about it. But instead of playing these mid-range tournaments, I have like my main contest. It's like the 1K or the 555 or whatever it is. I'll play the Sunday Million. In between those, I usually would play like the $65, like the $50 single entry, those things. You like layer in your upside. But the way these things are structured, obviously we know we need to get to the top. We know if we min cash, sometimes we're not even getting double our money. Instead of all of those middle tournaments, I cut those out completely, and I'm playing quintuple ups in the middle of those. And let me tell you why. So quintuple up, 5x your money. I'm not playing like a crazy amount in there, but if I end up playing, just say I have $1,000 in action, maybe I'll have like $150 or $100 in quintuple ups. So it basically raises my floor of that min cash. So there's been weeks where I've basically just cashed my main tournament, and then I'm honestly like making so much more than I would normally, just because the 5x in between gets me there. And then I don't have that high end upside, but you're only going to hit, hopefully at least, like that high end team a couple times a year anyway. You're giving up so much min cash equity that these 5x contests that you can play, small fields, so I'm playing them like GPPs, and then I'm looking at the ownership. You flip the cards over, it's all cash teams in there, man. So it's the same things we talk about with these single entries and these smaller fields. These quintuple ups, man, it's even worse. There's dupe lineups in there. If you play them like a GPP, yeah, it's only going to cash 18% of the field. But I think that they're really good tournaments to play, especially if you want to find a little bit more upside in the mid-range. And I guess I want your thoughts on that, but I don't know. The results have been pretty good so far. I don't have to cash those every week for it to be a plus EV thing.
Yeah, you got to cash what?
I'm not a public math guy, but I'll let you handle that. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. No, I mean, you really clearly don't have to. So people have made a living doing this in this space, man. And two direct examples of that have been Jeff Collins did it in 2016 and 2017 or whenever it was. He saw a massive edge in qualifiers, and all of these sharps and these pros were kind of just playing their optimals in some of these high stake, 30-person fields. And he made variations, and he went on a heater and won millions of dollars, right? Eric Beimfor has done the exact same thing. He's basically a guy who focuses on cues and is focusing on an extremely specific contest selection, and just doesn't play the optimal. He plays what he thinks is going to win that contest, not just what he might think is the quote unquote best lineup or the optimal. So what you're doing, I think, is extremely sharp, and it goes back to the same thing of just finding niche edges, bro, or finding niche contest or games and truly having an edge. Going from a 2% edge to an 8% edge on something like that, it's just like
massive.
It's massive, right?
Yep.
So no, man, I think that's sharp, and this is constantly what we have to be doing as players as this game continues to evolve, the game within the game. We have to evolve too. And that's why I only played early, or I focused on early only this week, right? Like, it was really nice to just focus on condensed ownership. People don't onslaught enough. You're taking 3, 4, sometimes 5 games out of a slate, and players don't want to literally onslaught. And when I say onslaught, like 3 pass catchers with 1 quarterback, right? Like, I mean, if you did that with, or Dak, Elliott, CD Lamb, and I mean, you could even play Gallup. Like, Gallup didn't hurt you in that small field stuff, even though he dropped like 2 really important balls that would have, won you something. They just don't do that enough. So focusing on niche.
I'm with you, man.
Super important.
Niche or niche? I'm not sure which one it is, but I'm with you. And just to tie a bow on this quintuple ups thing, because I do think that this is one of the edges I've had this year, and I was, I guess, hesitant somewhat to talk about it until I had multiple weeks of looking at this. But I've got it on screen right now, just ownership wise, right? So if you're playing this like a GPP, CD Lamb 3%. Michael Gallup 3%, Dak Prescott 14%, Tyler Lockett 3%. So you can leverage in here just like a GPP. And then you're looking at some of these other teams. Let's see who else is up here. I'm sure we have, so Mark Ingram, 71%, Dearness Johnson, 85%. It's cash teams, right? 64% Devontae Adams, but also like the stacks in general, like a 50% Josh Allen is something that in a tournament is so easy to figure out, just like that next tier of content or next tier of different stacking opportunities, and then you're really paid off when you can just this is only a field size of 28 people. It's very small, right? So if you have like a very specific spot that you like that you know is not going to be the optimal cash build, like these things are a print fest in my opinion if you're playing them like GPP, because 18% of the field is paid out. And yeah, it's not great to just run into like a really chalky week, but on that week where you have that team that doesn't have the complete nuts, like you're going to 5x your money on these in between contests that you have. And at that point, like it's a really nice bump, I think, to your game selection. If you go crazy with these, it can go bad. But if you get, I guess, keep like a small allocation of your selection of your weekly contests, I do think that they're really strong. So anything else to add to that? But I want to talk about that for kind of the first time.
I think it's very important too. Like you can still have that cash player mindset and build a team for this that is not a quote unquote cash game team. Yep. I just briefly saw that on my other monitor when you brought it up, but it looks like you focused on high total games, paces that were good, and you're still playing good players. You're not galaxy braining any LaVisca Chenaulton here. You know what I'm saying? So it's not like you have to make this insane team. Like, who is your tight end on that team?
Kyle Pitts. Yeah, so it was just the DAC. It was the DAC stack with Kyle Pitts coming back, and it was this is our tilt space team this past week. But then just grabbing someone like CMC at 7%, and then honestly, like even if things are going wrong, your late swaps help you even more in these contests because you know you're going to be the only one that's late swapping to Tyler Lockett or that's late swapping to like one of these other guys, right? So I think that there's so many parts of this specific niche game, and I'm sure anyone that's watching this right now after the fact has probably already clicked out of this video, but this is where you make money in DFS right now. It's finding things like this that are a little bit different than just firing in a bunch of lineups to the Sunday Million. So that's something that I am definitely focused on this year, and it's worked out.